where we could see some heavy ones. Parts of Wales and southwest England should see lengthy, dry, bright periods, and temperatures in the southwest maybe up to 21, perhaps 22 in London. Elsewhere, again, we're mostly in the high teens, but the breezes will be lighter. Quite a chilly start to Wednesday. For many, a fine, bright start. Some showers again over northern England, but out west the cloud is gathering and we will see outbreaks of rain pushing in here as we go through the afternoon. Sunny spells and a few scattered showers elsewhere, and again temperatures mostly high teens, low 20s at best.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Weeknights on GB News from 6 p.m. You'll always get drama.
Please stop, Michelle.
I know, yeah.
Please stop.
Should I just shut up?
Romance.
You like me, I like you. There you go.
There you are. Well, don't tell anybody.
Adventure.
Etc.
That's the whole point. But
And action.
Sergeant, read my superstar panel. They're already at it. They're fighting. It's going to be quite a show.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The Jubes and Co, we tackle the issues of the day with real, robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard. We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
You're with GB News. Good evening. The top story tonight, Nigel Farage says, following the BBC's apology for its inaccurate reporting over his Coutts bank account, the spotlight is now on NatWest Group to reveal what information it holds on him. The chief executive of BBC News stated that the broadcaster's information that was reported had come from a trusted and senior source, but it turned out to be incomplete and inaccurate. Mr Farage says he's going to find the truth about who it was that falsely divulged his personal data.
How can it be right? And it doesn't matter whether it's me or anybody else. How can it be right that my banking status and the amount of money I may or may not have in my personal and business accounts are being discussed with the business editor of the BBC and then disseminated to a wider world? How can that be ethical? How can that be legal? How can that be moral? I want to find out the truth, and I'm blooming well going to find out the truth.
Well, in Greece, tour operator TUI says it has cancelled all outbound flights from the UK to Rhodes up to and including this Friday as wildfires continue to spread rapidly across the island, affecting not just people but, of course, animals as well. Nearly 1,500 tourists have been flown home in the biggest evacuation of its kind as the fires burn for a sixth day. Jet2 and TUI both arranged 4 repatriation flights for today. EasyJet and TUI have planned another for tomorrow. The Foreign Office is saying up to 10,000 Britons are currently on the island. And the Greek government says there are currently no fires in residential areas of Corfu, despite evacuation orders being issued there last night. Well, some of those who managed to get on a flight back from Rhodes to East Midlands Airport today told GB News what they saw as they left.
You could see smoke in the distance, probably a couple of miles away from where we was in the hotel. And that had gradually got worse throughout the night. And as the darker it got, we could see the glow of the fire.
Suddenly it was like the ash was falling all over, all onto the beach and the taverna, all over the tables, and we wondered, you know, sort of quite what was happening. And then we looked over the back of us over the hills, and all the sky was alight.
Michael Gove has announced plans to create more homes in the UK's main cities by, he says, relaxing planning rules and cutting red tape. The Housing Secretary says he wants to make it easier to convert empty shops into new flats, for example, or extend existing homes. The plans will include creating an urban quarter in Cambridge, plans which were immediately dismissed by the local MP, Anthony Brown, as nonsense. And lastly, Britain's first £1 million footballer, Trevor Francis, has died at the age of 69 from a heart attack. He joined Nottingham Forest in 1979, helping them win back-to-back European Cups, a feat that hasn't been repeated by a British team. And that includes scoring the winning goal against Malmo. Gary Lineker has been leading tributes today, calling him a wonderful footballer and a lovely man. You're up to date on TV, online, DAB+ radio and the TuneIn app. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm your host, Andrew Doyle, and joining me for a deep dive of Tuesday's newspapers are the Tom Daly and Matty Lee of the comedy circuit, Josh Howie and Francis Foster. How are you?
Very good.
Yes, I can see you as a diver.
Thanks, mate.
Skimpy Speedos.
What a compliment. No,
Yeah.
I could never wear skimpy Speedos.
No?
No.
Did you not see him try and get on that chair?
I did.
It was
pretty embarrassing.
It was gauche.
I'm ashamed.
OK, well, look, we're going to start by looking through the front pages of Tuesday's newspapers. The Daily Mail is leading with lawyers charging up to £10,000 to make fake asylum claims. The Guardian leads with climate crisis linked to heatwave fires undeniable, say scientists. The Telegraph has bank boss pressured to launch Farage leak inquiry. And The Mirror, we ran for our lives. That's more on the Rhodes story. The Express, race to rescue Britons in Greek wildfires nightmare. The Daily Star, we can't rule out there's a spaceship crashed on Mars. And those were your front pages. So we're going to kick off with Tuesday's Telegraph. Josh, what's their front cover looking like?
It's looking pretty sweet.
Is it?
No, not really. Bank boss pressured. Bank boss pressured. There's lots of S's in this thing.
You're having trouble here.
Bank boss pressured to launch Farage leak inquiry.
Yes.
Just remember, Josh, whenever you got a problem, just finger space.
Okay, thank you. I got that.
You used to be a teacher, Francis.
Yeah, exactly.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. With your support, I will be able to read headlines myself.
So this is more on the Farage story, on the Coots story.
This is the next step. So the BBC apologised.
Why?
Today,
because they got it. Because
they got it wrong. Yeah, because they basically said from a trusted source that he just didn't have enough money in his account.
And what's the trusted source Coots PR department?
Well, no, it might be even higher than that.
Oh, really?
Because the BBC journalist Simon Jack was having dinner with the Coots.
Yes, he was having dinner with Dame Alison.
Dame Alison Rose, who's the bank's chief executive of NatWest. So what a coincidence! The next day he suddenly had this exclusive story.
Yes.
So now from that, and now she's being pressured. Oh, no, sorry, her boss. Yes. Who is the chairman, is now is under pressure to basically launch an inquiry to where this leak came from.
Well, I mean, her boss is the taxpayer, really, because 39% of the company is owned by the taxpayer.
Yes.
So this is very serious, isn't it?
No, it's incredibly serious, and I mean, it's sort of escalated in seriousness from the point of just his account being closed. Then it turns out that NatWest is up to like 10,000 accounts, I think, that have also been closed under these.
Well, look, this isn't an accident. You know, they had produced a 40-page dossier outlining the reasons why Nigel Farage does not align with their values. It's clear they've done this with other people. So, Francis, I mean, this is just part of a broader trend, isn't it?
I think what this actually shows, Andrew, is a astounding level of arrogance by these people. That they thought that they were going to close through completely spurious reasons.
Yeah.
The bank account of one of the most prominent political figures and broadcasters in this country. And not only that, they were going to get away with it and there was going to be no backlash.
Yeah, sort of unbelievable. And then, and similarly, what this has revealed about how the BBC have handled this isn't great either, really, because they just leapt to trusting this source and just making this false claim.
Yeah.
Took them a while to retract it.
They retracted it, I believe, before the weekend. They changed the original article.
Right.
And now the apology has come forward.
Yes.
Nigel Farage, I heard him earlier, and he was very sort of magnanimous about it.
Yeah.
But he did say, this could have certainly come a bit sooner. And the mad thing is, we're still seeing people online who are still defending Coots.
Well, I was going to ask you about this because I've seen some people have turned this into a political left versus right thing. As in, if you don't like Nigel Farage's ideas, then this is a great thing that Coots can ditch him. And this strikes me as quite similar to the freedom of speech argument. Like, everyone's for freedom of speech, but then sometimes when someone says something that's absolutely horrible, and you end up siding with the person you agree with. Really, it should be a principle that everyone should be able to have a bank account.
And this is it. And the people who have come out and supported Farage's bank account being cancelled, again, it comes from a position of arrogance because they are saying, you know, I am so moral, I am so virtuous, my political opinions are so impeccable that this will never happen to me.
But also, you know, when you have someone like Paul Mason, who claims to be this sort of left-wing stalwart, cheering on the banks, would he be doing that if it were a left-wing activist?
No, of course not, and that's the hypocrisy that's been revealed, and of course this tribalism, this toxicity that has come into our politics and whatnot. It's a sad, but Nigel Farage says, I want the absolute truth. I'm going to go on fighting and pushing until I get it. I won't stop until I get it. And if I know anything about Nigel Farage, he will not stop until he gets what he wants.
And here we are. He loves that.
Yeah.
Were those attempted impersonations?
I could do.
No.
I can't. I wouldn't. I'd probably lose my job.
You absolutely wouldn't, Josh. It just wouldn't be very good.
Yeah.
I am Nigel Farage.
No, that's hopeless. OK, we're going to go on now to the front cover of the Daily Mail. Francis, what are they running with?
Right, and the Daily Mail have gone with the most Daily Mail story of all time. I'm not saying it's not relevant. I'm not saying it's not important. All I'm saying is that this is prime red meat Daily Mail.
OK.
Lawyers charging up to £10,000 to make fake asylum claims. And this is actually a very, very interesting piece of investigative journalism by the Mail. So they went undercover and exposed UK immigration law firms that what they're doing is they're briefing clients on how to stay in this country.
So what, the Mail has sort of got some journalists to pretend to be making asylum claims?
Yes.
And and these lawyers are saying, we'll lie for you, right?
Exactly.
We'll
for 10 grand.
For 10 grand, right?
What sort of things are they saying they'll do?
So what they'll say is, look, for 10 grand, we're going to invent a horrific backstory Right. It's going to include claims of sexual torture, beating, slave labour, false imprisonment, death threats. I mean, that just sounds like the comedy circuit, you know, that we used to operate on. That left him suicidal and forced to and compelled to flee to the UK.
They're writing backstory. I could do that. I'm a writer.
But also getting doctor's notes and get prescriptions for depression.
How are they going to do that? Fake doctor or dodgy doctors, basically.
Yeah.
Well, this is pretty incredible. But the thing about this is, it doesn't look to me like they're naming and shaming.
Oh, they definitely named this guy on the front.
Yeah, so they named the guy on the front, and for no other reason, he should be named and shamed. I mean, that suit is absolutely diabolical.
It is a bad suit.
I think it's more his hair that I've got a problem with.
Oh, yeah, and the beard is clearly dyed. But let's not focus on that.
Oh, so they are naming these people?
Yeah, so they are naming these people. And these people are making a very, very nice living out of this. They're sending their... like, this particular gentleman on the cover actually sent his son to Eton College.
Really?
Yes.
OK, well, in that case, it's the sort of thing that should be exposed. If you're... Well, this can't be ethical at all, right?
No, this is actual journalism, and it's they're abusing the system. Yeah. And people sort of talk about it, and it's become sort of a seemingly right-wing talking point. Yeah. But it's happening. But it is actually happening.
Right.
And the worst thing is, of course, it's disrespectful. There are people out there who have had terrible abuse, sexual violence and whatnot, and this just belittles those genuine experiences.
OK, right, so we're going to move on now to The Guardian, which I think is being a bit Guardian-y today. Josh, what's going on here?
Climate crisis linked to heatwave fires undeniable, says scientists.
Yeah, which scientists?
Yes, which experts?
Yeah, who are they in the pocket of?
Yeah, exactly. So, this is... Obviously, look, you've got these terrible fires that are going on.
Bit of a gear change, Adrian.
Yeah, we really shouldn't be making light of this, should we?
It's pretty bad. But what a lot of people are saying, because some of these fires were set off by human beings...
Yes.
So people go, oh, no, and also because people have these heat waves have happened historically as well.
Yeah, it's not the first heat wave.
No, exactly. But what these scientists are saying is it's happening more regular, and these heat waves are worse because of climate change.
Yes. Well, since I know absolutely nothing about the science behind climate change, I'm going to defer to your judgment, Francis.
Well,
are these scientists correct?
Well, this is it. It's a good job that you've come to me, because I actually got a 2-2 in drama, but I've actually read about 6 articles on this. So I am officially an expert.
And did you perform in the drama degree? Did you perform in any show about climate change?
Yeah, so I was a climate dying. It was very moving. Yeah. And everybody, you know, they said it was undeniably powerful.
Well, you know, like I say, I don't have the expertise to challenge them. I'm sure they're right?
Yeah, I'm sure they're right. For me, it's not a question of whether this is actually happening, global warming or whatever. Yes. It's a question of what our response should be.
And what should that be?
Well, that's something that we need to open debate, but just someone deciding 10, 15 years ago, we're going to do this thing called net zero, and this is what we're going to do to get it, and also damn everything along the way.
Yeah, make the poor people as poor as possible probably isn't the best way to approach this, right?
No. And it's not going to get poor people on board.
No, it really isn't. OK, we're going to move on now to The Star. They've been doing a lot of stuff about aliens, Josh.
Well, they have, and... an update from those pointy heads at NASA. I don't know what that actually means. Why do NASA have pointy heads?
That must be an in-joke.
Forset buffs.
OK, right. I kind of thought, is it like a KKK thing with the pointy heads? That's the only thing
You always go to the KKK, don't you? Every time it's all about racism.
Let's get to the point.
I'm fairly maligned. Anyway.
So NASA's saying that this picture on the front cover there, which looks like tracks, some sort of tyre tracks, potentially, they're saying this could be a spaceship... crash, sort of spaceship tracks.
Well, they say it could be a spaceship
It's on Mars, right? It's on Mars.
Crash on Mars. Or maybe, Andrew, Mars is quite a windy place. The wind might have blown it about a bit, and it's gone into that.
But it could be a spaceship, OK, Francis?
Why is everyone obsessed with aliens at the moment?
Because I know what's happening, because aliens have been around on this planet for however long.
Yeah.
The governments have known about it, and now they've deemed that now it's acceptable that we're going to know... Government owns the Daily Star, and they are now using the Daily Star as like a soft launch so we can know the alien. How are we responding now? We're not all going crazy. They're like, all right, let's drip a bit more. Let's go from the Daily Star to the Express.
You know what?
Let's go to the Daily Mail.
I'm going to clip this. I'm going to send it to Matthew Sweet, and you're going to get a big tweet thread about you.
Oh,
Look at this. Look at Keir Starmer. You can't tell me that man is human.
No, when he wins the election, he's going to pull his face off, and he will be some kind of satanic, demonic alien.
Exactly. And then we're going to put another, like, a red stripe on the trans flag.
That's why he doesn't know about men or women having penises, because within the lizard culture, lizards could have both.
Exactly. He impregnates women with his tongue.
All right.
OK, on that note, that's it for part 1. But do join us in a few moments for Tory flip-flopping, Labour flip-flopping and NHS flip-flopping. See you there.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, "Nana, stop arguing." I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different. Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching. Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Andrew Doyle, and I booked these two to go through Tuesday's newspapers. It's Josh Howie and Francis Foster. Don't let me down, lads. Right, first up in this section, it's Tuesday's Daily Mail. And Josh, is the new Tory motto drill, drill, drill?
Yeah, it is. Whatever to get elected. Energy Secretary Grant Snaps vows. Snaps?
Shaps.
No, but I call him Snaps.
Do you?
Okay. Yeah, Snapsy.
That's just an excuse.
Just time from when we were at boarding school together. Vows to max out North Sea oil and gas as he opens up dividing line with Labour. Of course, everybody goes, oh, Labour, Tories, there's nothing between them.
Yeah.
And Labour have said that they're not going to grant any more licences for the North Sea gas and oil.
So what's Shaps saying? He's saying
it's madness
we
to
should
not
use
exploit
it all.
Just drill.
Well, I mean, if we've got it in our back garden, why should we be buying oil from overseas?
Absolutely, yeah. So that does make sense. But of course, really, we should also be becoming more self-sufficient, nuclear, wind. The problem with nuclear, which which is that they have to make the investment now, and it takes sort of a decade or so for it to come on. So by then, they're not going to get the credit for it.
No.
So that's
why they haven't done it.
Yeah, that's why they haven't done it.
But they did it in France decades ago, and now they're reaping the rewards.
Well, that's the thing, and we need someone who's actually going to think about the long-term future.
Yeah, not that I want us to emulate the French.
No,
never.
You would never want to
be
go
weird.
there.
No.
OK, well, what do you think about this, Francis? You know, I mean, Michael Gove over the weekend made this point that he was worried that we were getting into some kind of religious crusade when it comes to the environmental issues. Do you think that that's what's going on?
I think my honest answer is that we absolutely need to be pragmatic. We cannot have what happened last winter with the government effectively bailing out every house owner in the UK in order so that people could pay their bills. That is not sustainable. We are going to have to either get the gas from the UK or we're going to have to import it.
Yes.
Either way, gas is going to be burnt. And the idea that we're not going to burn gas is quite frankly ridiculous.
Yep. OK, well, we're going to move on now to Tuesday's Guardian next. And Francis, it's almost like Labour have realised that 51% of the electorate are women.
Exactly. Although who knows what a woman is, Andrew?
We don't know.
No, we don't know.
Scientists have been trying to find that out for years, and they just don't know.
The way that I go is I just listen to the one that complains the most, and I go, definitely a woman. Anyway, so Labour vows to modify, simplify...
Dear me, I'm shocked. Mate! Come on, mate.
And Reform Gender Recognition Act. So Labour plan to overhaul what they call an outdated law to make it easier for transgender people to transition while maintaining protections for single-sex spaces.
OK, so this is an article that Annalise Dodds, who's the Shadow Women and Equalities Minister, has written for The Guardian.
Yeah.
But aren't people going to be worried that if you make it easier to obtain a gender recognition certificate, that effectively you're ushering in self-ID, you know? And we know what problems that's caused.
Well, I've read through what she's saying, and I've read through several articles, and it sounds like a fudge, if I'm being honest.
Oh, really?
What it sounds like is they're trying to appeal to, let's just say, the more gender-critical, as in the vast majority of the population, and saying, look, we're not going to impinge on women's rights, that women's spaces will be respected, etc., but we're also going to make it easier for people to transition.
So this is where I think Labour don't understand what's going on here, Josh, because they think that they can, like in this statement by Annalise Dodd, she says, we're going to firm up the Equality Act so it's absolutely clear that you can have single-sex protected spaces. What she doesn't seem to appreciate is that a lot of the trans activists will say that's not good enough.
No, but this is a fudge, but I do think they know what's going on.
Right.
And I think that they've tried to have their cake here and eat it. And it's actually... Kemi Badenoch has come out and brought out a big thread online, basically, showing how the ridiculousness of this, because already the changes that Annalise Dodds is talking about, they have already made in terms of making it... They're not talking about self-ID. What this article in The Guardian fails to say at all is this is a massive backtrack from Labour.
Right.
Which is, 2 years ago, or up till now, their policy has officially been self-ID.
Yes.
Now they have done this whole... She's written this whole letter saying we're going to reform it, and then she sticks in at the end, by the way, you know, we are protecting women's spaces, and it doesn't matter if you have this gender certificate or not.
This U-turn has come about probably because there's been more awareness from the public of what happens when how self-ID can be exploited. We saw this with Isla Bryson in the Scottish prison. You know, it's very clear to the people now.
Oh, yeah, it is very clear. And in the letter, she also threw the SNP under the bus, who basically had the same policy as them from 2 years ago. And they were saying, oh, they just wanted to have a little pop at Westminster, and it had really nothing to do with trans people or trans people's rights. Or, you know.
That's very cynical. Look, I don't support the SNP, but I don't think for a second they were pushing this through just to have a go at Westminster.
But also Scottish Labour was backing these policies as well.
Right.
So this is the problem, it's the hypocrisy here of this letter where she is basically making out that it's all a culture war and it's the Tories and they've done all the bad stuff and whatever. And essentially they've come out with a sensible policy, somewhat of a compromise, but people are angry because this stuff now that they're saying that we should respect single-sex spaces is what women have been saying for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've been demonised, they've lost their jobs. Their own MPs, you have Rosie Duffield, who's just been villainised.
By members of her own party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, and now Labour are turning around, and I'm glad they've got it. I'm glad they finally seem to understand this is important for...
Yeah, but I wish they wouldn't dismiss the opposite argument as just a culture war.
No,
right?
of course not.
It's so much more important than
that. No, of course it is. But now they're saying, but we're going to do it right. It's like, they've changed their tune. I'm glad that they have, but they should have been singing... I don't know where this analogy is going, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, trans women are women.
Thank you. A bit of balance there. OK, so we're moving on to The Guardian now. And Francis, the Met's spokesperson really has their work cut out on this one.
Well, this was a clip that went viral all over social media, and it was a very distressing clip which showed a police officer arresting a woman whilst her child was very visibly upset.
Now, I haven't seen the clip, but the point of this in the article is talking about how she had, in fact, paid the bus fare. So how on earth did this go wrong?
Well, there must have been a miscommunication down the line. Whatever happened, no one really knows at this point what has happened.
Yeah.
The woman got arrested. She was obviously very upset. The child was very upset. The woman is a black woman, which then means that there's a racial element attached to it.
Oh, OK. It didn't mention that in the article.
Yes. So, and as a result of that, people have got very het up and very upset. And
but the thing is,
not a good look.
No, it's not.
For the Met Police.
You can't just not arrest someone simply because there's a child there who's crying.
Yeah.
But what's confusing about this is that, like I say, she had paid the fare. Clearly, the police officer thought that she hadn't paid the fare. Josh, do you have any more information?
Well, just you don't see, like you say, it's a very distressing clip. We don't see the beginning of what happened.
No.
It is understood that she didn't want to show, supposedly, that she didn't want to show her bus pass or whatever it was.
Right.
But so, you know, maybe she felt like singled out. Maybe she felt like, well, I had paid. Why do I have to prove myself to you? Why are you picking on me? There's a myriad of different reasons that might take it. But the fact is, this clip, you've got 6 police officers trying to catch out someone for... I'm not saying that people should not pay their bus passes. This person did pay their fare. But at the same time, these 6 officers maybe could be out there, you know, sorting out our terrible rape convictions or
No. What they need to
things.
do, Josh, is go on Twitter and arrest somebody for tweets.
Well, that's what they should be doing.
Exactly.
Why are they wasting their time with this sort of...
Yeah, you don't want to do with people, you know, bunking on the bus. You want proper criminals, people doing tweets about trans.
OK, well, finally for this section, the Mail has a story about how expensive train tickets are, even with these staff discounts, apparently.
It's insane. This is quite an amusing story, which is appropriate because hopefully this is an amusing show. Network Rail spent £10,000 flying staff around the country last year as it was cheaper than paying them to take the trains. So that is quite funny. That is somewhat ridiculous.
Yes. It's a kind of tacit acknowledgement that they are charging too much.
Yeah, and if they can't even get their own discounts on it and booking 3 months in advance and whatever. So it's a lot of money. It shows how expensive it is for the rest of us. They had nearly 3,000 air tickets were bought by the staff, and people going up to Glasgow, and there were direct flights, direct trains that they could have taken. So this is ridiculous.
It is really, really expensive, isn't it?
It is overpriced. It is difficult to even get one of those tickets in advance. You seem to have just to negotiate about 1 billion different hurdles just to get a ticket. Then when you get there, it's liable to be cancelled because of a strike or because there's delays.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally unreliable. No wonder you're getting a flight.
Yeah,
I would get a flight.
So what's the solution? Nationalise all the railways?
Let's nationalise all the railways.
Nationalise the airlines.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nationalise the railways, nationalise the airlines, nationalise the cars, and let's get Corbyn in power.
Right, there we go. On that contentious note, we're at the halfway point, but do make sure you come back. We're going to be discussing the end of HIV, Elon X, and mate. See you there.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening, I'm Alex Deakin and this is your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. Most of us will see some sunny spells tomorrow, but there'll still be a few showers around and still a little bit on the chilly side. Low pressure is edging away. The breeze is coming down from the north. These weather fronts have been providing some heavy showers, but clearing away from the south coast this evening. Another one will bring some showery rain into northern Scotland overnight. A few scattered showers elsewhere, perhaps in southwest England, southwest Wales, but most will be dry and clear. And temperatures will drop away down into single figures, certainly in many rural spots, towns and cities generally about 9 to 12 Celsius. So for Tuesday, as I said, a mix of sun and showers, generally a brighter day across East Anglia and the southeast. Not too many showers here in the morning. Mostly across western Scotland initially, but we'll see a few more showers through the day over parts of southern Scotland and especially northeast England, where we could see some heavy ones. Parts of Wales and southwest England should see lengthy, dry, bright periods, and temperatures in the southwest maybe up to 21, perhaps 22 in London. Elsewhere, again, we're mostly in the high teens, but the breezes will be lighter. Quite a chilly start to Wednesday. For many, a fine bright start. Some showers again over northern England, but out west the cloud is gathering and we will see outbreaks of rain pushing in here as we go through the afternoon. Sunny spells and a few scattered showers elsewhere, and again temperatures mostly high teens, low 20s at best.
That warm feeling inside. From boxed boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Kerr, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views, and often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political budgets.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard. We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Tuesday's newspapers. Straight into the Mail now, Francis. Republicans have discovered a new tool in their fight against abortion: bribery.
Indeed it is. So the parents of unborn babies to get massive tax credits under new GOP push to incentivise mothers to carry pregnancies to term. This is how it's going to work. So if you carry, so they're going to increase the refundable child tax credit from £2,000 to £3,500 dollars.
That's still quite a substantial jump.
Yeah, and $4,500 for those between the ages of 6 and 17.
That's a lot of McDonald's.
And there is a lot of McDonald's. But the reason they're doing this is also as well is that every Western nation has a declining birth rate. And it is a huge problem in countries like South Korea, which has a birth rate, replacement rate of 0.8. Which means that in about 150 to 170 years, if it carries on the way it is, there is going to be no more South Korea.
OK, so does this make sense, Josh, as a policy?
It does make sense. America is arguably very backward when it comes to new parent rights and whatnot. Fathers, you know, they literally get like 2 weeks off or whatever. So there's now the policy of them being able to draw upon their Social Security.
Right.
So they get up to 3 months off, which means they're still paying for it fundamentally.
Yes.
But I disagree with you in that this is why they're doing it. You're right that there is a problem with this replacement level because it's got to be, I think, 2.1 or 2.2 or something like that. And America, I think, is 1.5. So there is an issue there. But I would argue this goes down more to ideology and them trying to deal, you know, with their concerns about abortion.
But on the other hand, you know, if you are pro-choice, which is the phrase that people use, then wouldn't you be pro this choice as well? Women have a choice to take the money and keep the baby. You know, that's it's within their rights.
Arguably, I mean, there was a big thing here where we had, which doesn't seem to exist anymore, where this myth of, well, it wasn't really a myth. There were some people who did it, literally having kids.
Yes.
Just to sort of get council flats and all of this.
Yeah, I did that. That's how I got my place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've got... Actually, I was too late, unfortunately.
You were.
I had all the kids. Yeah. Didn't get the good stuff at the end.
Didn't you?
No,
you did it the wrong way around there, Josh.
Yeah.
OK, well, Tuesday's Telegraph now. Some exciting news from Australia.
Yeah, Australia has HIV elimination in sight after dramatic fall in Sydney infections. So younger viewers out there... will not have heard of this, but there was this thing called HIV, AIDS.
I mean, I like to think
in the 80s.
They have some.
No, it's like chlamydia for them nowadays. But it was a big deal when we were growing up.
Yes. It was like the Cabbage Patch Kids. Do you remember that?
Yeah. It was like this big thing.
But it wasn't just a trend, was it? I do remember seeing those scary adverts when I was a kid. And I also, my school teacher said to us, if we borrowed each other's plimsolls, we would get AIDS.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And how did that... You grew up in Ireland, didn't you?
No, this was in Birmingham.
Oh, this was... Yeah, but I mean, it's just as backwards, isn't it?
We should point out that you cannot get AIDS from plimsolls.
As far as we know...
Before Matthew Sweet clips it up.
The point
as far as we know.
The point I was... Well, it depends what you do in the plimsolls. But the point that I was making is that people were so ill-informed at the time. For many years, people didn't really know. They thought you could catch it from shaking hands.
Absolutely. Well, we were told that everybody was going to get it. That was it. If you had unprotected sex, that was it. I thought condoms, I didn't realise that they were used to also prevent pregnancies. I thought that they just used them for
Can I ask, right, so how have they done this? So,
they've done it three different things here. They've got very
Can you just tell us the stats on this? Because it's quite...
It is, mate. So it's dropped from 2010 to 2022, new infections have fallen by 88%.
But that's massive.
So that's huge. And they've had only 11 new cases reported last year. And this is a huge deal because it basically means it sort of virtually eliminates it.
Have they just all embraced celibacy?
No. It's what it is. Regular testing, prompt treatment, and then a strong uptake of the pre-exposure prophylaxis or whatever, which is a
PrEP,
which you can take, and then it means that you won't pass it on.
Yes.
So these are three.
And you won't catch it either.
And
right?
you won't catch it either if you take it. So, so this is a huge deal, and it's also we've seen drops in other countries. It's still obviously prevalent much more in Africa.
Yes.
And it's different in Australia. It was very much more prevalent in the homosexual and bisexual communities, but in Africa. It's still dominated by heterosexual relationships.
So it's a different model.
It's a different model.
But you could apply this model
they have
to
applied
various
it to a degree.
places.
I mean, it's different where there's able to get less testing in places like Sudan and whatnot, but it's still encouraging. And there's a proof of concept that shows that the disease, the virus, can be wiped out. It's amazing. And it's really exciting news. And that's great. And it's positive news.
OK, well, we're going to move to the Mail next. And Francis, mate, take us through this.
So this is Sadiq Khan. Now, he's been an absolutely useless mayor. He's tried lots of things to get off the ground, but none of them have ever worked, and the crime is spiralling out of control. London is slowly descending into a crime...
Not bus fares, though. Bus fares they're really on top of.
London is slowly descending into a crime-ridden cesspit, which is what it used to be in the 80s, when I grew up, so, you know, it's quite nostalgic for me. But he's decided that the most important thing we need to do now, Andrew, is we need to tackle misogynistic language.
Yeah, but this story's been going around for a number of days, so why are they reporting again on this for the Mail? What's the development here?
Right,
backlash.
There's been a backlash to the Mate campaign.
Well, it's because it's completely ridiculous and it conflates two things. It conflates people telling off-colour jokes, but, you know, dare we say, a little bit of lewd banter with...
Disgraceful.
Yeah, with acts like sexual assault,
yes,
flashing, public masturbation, all those types of things. And those two things are two completely separate issues.
Talk me through it. So basically, if you were to say something a bit laddish, and I thought it crossed the line, I'm supposed to go, mate.
Yes.
Like a sheep.
Because it's three A's. It's not. You don't say mate.
You say mate.
You say mate.
But you really enunciate your A's there.
Yeah.
Mate.
Yeah. That's because I'm trained for the stage.
Yes,
you are.
Very impressive.
I do enunciate.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a thespian. And no, but what I'm confused about is how do you then define when you are to utter this phrase? Because the examples they give here, they talk about she's asking for that, which sounds quite dodgy to me.
Yes.
Yeah. Mate.
Mate. And then, have you seen the new girl? Well, that doesn't sound...
No, that
doesn't sound mate-worthy.
That's geezer. You should have different levels.
Yeah, exactly.
Shouldn't you be able to remark on someone being attractive?
No, that's disgusting.
Why?
And it's also incredibly
women aren't attractive. Everybody knows that now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know.
It's about people's personalities, Andrew.
Yes, Andrew. It's looking at their souls.
Their souls?
Yes.
You couldn't apply this in the gay community, an equivalent to this.
What would it be?
I just don't see how it could work.
I was about to say something maybe a bit dodgy.
but...
Hello.
What?
But you know what? You couldn't.
What's Josh trying to say?
I was going to say something homophobic.
Okay.
Mate.
No, but I'm saying, how do homosexuals refer to each other?
Well, let's just say it could be banter, or it could be quite explicit sometimes.
What would you call like a fellow homosexual when you bump into them? You're allowed to say.
I'm not allowed to say it on air, though.
Aren't you allowed to say that?
No, because we have a secret code.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I've heard the secret code.
Yeah.
Oh, have you? Have you been to one of their clubs?
I've been to loads of the clubs, so I'm very familiar with the code.
Okay.
But I didn't know if I'm allowed to say the code.
No. We mustn't, because otherwise people will learn the code and they won't break it.
Okay, fine.
Because they don't realise how filthy we're being all the time.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty
The Bible was right, Andrew.
Yep. That's right. Pillar of salt and all that. Let's go to the Express. Josh, the Express have just discovered that the media world has been taken over by woke ideology. Fancy that.
Indeed. So this relates to an earlier story. Nigel Farage's bank just the start with woke left now taking over another UK industry.
And what industry is that?
Advertising.
Well, we wouldn't know about that on this channel.
No, not at all. Look, we've known at GB News, this has been going on for a long time, but Conservative MPs have revealed a sinister left-wing organisation called Conscious Advertising Network, CAN. And it's a coalition of about 180 advertisers, agencies, tech providers and whatnot. And they are also affiliated with the SAD group, who we have also heard about, Stop Funding Hate.
Who are very hateful in their rhetoric.
Very hateful. Well, this is the thing where the far left just don't want to hear different voices.
Yeah.
And this is the problem, and this is what's happened in the media, which is why GB News needs to be created in the first place.
Yes.
So we can actually hear these...
Well, that's the point. This is their behaviour with this advertising boycott has proven the reason for GB News existing in the first... They've proven our point, right?
Well, of course. And look, the thing is with these types of organisations and these types of people is that whenever you go to the far end of any political spectrum, the disgust threshold is very, very high. And they get incredibly disgusted with certain types of people and certain types of opinions.
Yeah, of course. Well, look, that's all for part 3. But coming up in our final section, the dangers of Barbie, how mushrooms can help. Ignore them. And how to live much longer, at least until the end of the show. See you in 2 minutes.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my new show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m, where real people get to meet those in power and hold them to account. Every week, we'll be hearing your views from up and down the country in the real world. Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to
to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There'll be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference.
And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the final part of Headliners. I'm Andrew Doyle. We're taking you through Tuesday's newspapers. And the Mail has a counterintuitive map for us to ponder.
Indeed. Barbenheimer map reveals that Democrat voting states favour the birth of the A-bomb movie, while Trump voters are drawn to the Camp World of Pink.
So just explain this.
Yeah, let me deconstruct that headline there. Essentially, so this weekend in America, across the world, you had Barbie released and you had Oppenheimer released.
These 2 big films.
2 big, they've made a lot of money together, I think 250 million. Everybody's super happy that it's making loads of money and whatnot. So someone has constructed this map that looks like the US electoral map, but it's counterintuitive because in the places, Barbie, which is somewhat seen as a woke movie, is most popular in all of the what are traditionally red states or Republican states.
Yes.
And Oppenheimer, which is about obviously the creation of the nuclear bomb, which is obviously seen as something bad, I guess, is being more popular in Democratic states. I would argue the reason why this has happened is you wouldn't expect this to be the case, but my personal theory would be that Oppenheimer is a more arty movie.
Well, it's Christopher Nolan,
It's Christopher Nolan. It's a bit of a thinky movie that would suggest...
Are you suggesting brighter people vote Democrat? Well, Josh, this is your political partisanship coming through.
New York, California, I know where I would live in America.
But, Francis, it is... maybe the Republicans, the more old-fashioned, more traditionalist people are drawn to Barbie because it reminds them of a happier time when we had sort of an awareness of the difference between Ken and Barbie.
But look, maybe part of it is the fact that Republicans are more likely to have children, they're more likely to have kids, Democrats are less likely.
Good point.
And is it a kids' film, the Barbie film?
I believe it. Yeah, it's got adult messages, but I think...
it's basically you can take the kids to it.
So you can take the kids to it, number one. And number two, look, I love Christopher Nolan, he's great. But 3.5 hours...
It does seem very long. Why does it have to be so long?
He loves making long movies.
Yes.
You know, what was the one that I saw? Tenet? Oh, my word, that lasted for about 27 hours.
No, I saw an advert for that. I thought, I'm not going near that.
Yeah, and then I watched it, and I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And when I left, I had no...
You have to be very clever to get Tenet.
And you got it, right?
I got it on the 5th time.
Yep, all right.
Which is what most people said.
OK, we're going to move on now to the Mail. And what's this about? This is another Barbie story, Francis.
Going Barbie crazy.
We're going absolutely Barbie crazy. So, science proves risk of eating disorders caused by Barbie. And what they're saying is that if a child plays with a doll and it's a Barbie, then they're more likely to feel self-conscious about their body because Barbie is not really in proportion. She's very slim. She's got long legs.
And this is like kids like 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I used to play with a He-Man, and I didn't grow up wanting to pump iron at the gym.
Yeah, you did. We've all seen you with your shirt off, mate. It's
actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. You're roided up to the gills. And it also explains those outbursts that you have before the show. Anyway. But as a result of that, that means that, you know, these kids are feeling insecure about their bodies, although there's been another test done or another survey done by Mattel who says that, you know, if kids play with dolls, it means they developmentally, they're more advanced.
Follow the example of the dolls, do you? I mean, I had the Ewoks. I had Ewok. Am I going to sort of start... I don't know what Ewoks do, but...
Well, I guess the point was that Ewoks are fictional and Barbie is real.
But Barbie's not real.
In my mind,
she doesn't look remotely real.
No, she doesn't. But the idea was she was created by Ruth Handler, Jewish woman, in America, and the whole point was she created it because she wanted to create a somewhat realistic portrayal of an adult. But the other interesting thing is that girls who play with Barbies have less job aspirants afterwards than just playing with potato. So if they play with Mrs. Potato Head, they give the same number of jobs as like career.
I'm very sceptical.
Well, this is what
I'm very sceptical. Anyway, we've got to move on.
All
We're
I'm
moving
gonna
on,
say
Francis.
is just get them on TikTok.
Francis, no. Times now. And what's this about? Curing anorexia?
Yes, magic mushrooms take a step towards anorexia treatment. So there's somewhat ironic here that you would food would be the answer.
Eat your way out of anorexia.
Yes, with magic mushrooms is the idea because there's already evidence out there that the psychedelics can have a positive impact towards mental health in terms of dealing with depression.
Yes,
they've done a very small study with 10 people. Anorexia affects I think 1 in 70 women, and it can be very, very difficult to cure.
Right.
So the fact that there's some positive
I still don't think we should be endorsing magic mushrooms, should we, or any kind of hallucinogen?
I think there's a lot of evidence that psychedelics can provide.
Is that right, Francis?
Yes, it is. So Dr. David Nutt is leading the study at Imperial College London, and what they're doing is they're looking into how psychedelics, in particular psilocybin, which is a psychedelic in the magic mushroom, can be used to treat conditions like depression, anxiety, and PTSD. And what they've actually found is that they are actually combined with counselling and therapy, that they're actually far more effective than synthetic medication, which has been provided by...
Look, I've got an open mind, absolutely.
Yeah, I spiked your drink, so let's see how it goes.
And do you know what? If you took magic mushrooms, your mind would be even more open.
OK, we've got time for one more story before if we're very quick. This is in The Guardian. How to live longer, if you can be bothered.
Yes, this is what you need to live longer. Do you want to live longer? You've got to eat well. You've got to avoid cigarettes. You've got to get a good night's sleep. You've got to be physically active, you've got to manage stress, you've got to avoid binge drinking, be free from opioid addiction, so that's you out, Andrew.
On it.
And have positive social relationships.
So wait, these 8 lifestyle changes, they're all very obvious.
They are obvious, but what isn't obvious is how long they can extend life. They're saying up to like 24 years here.
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
Well, that's...
Well, I would say
not science, Andrew.
Not having an opioid addiction probably is helpful.
Not riding a motorbike.
But look at Keith Richards. Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones was a heroin addict for many years.
And he's done really well.
He's done really well,
As long as he gave it up in his 40s, 50s. The point is, you can make these changes, they will make an impact to your life. You will have one.
So just think about the roids. Maybe time to give it up.
Smack?
I don't think I can at this point, Francis, and I've got my physique to maintain. So the show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Tuesday's front pages. The Daily Mail is leading with lawyers charging up to £10,000 to make fake asylum claims. The Guardian is running with climate crisis linked to heatwave fires undeniable, say scientists. The Telegraph has bank boss pressured to launch Farage leak inquiry. The Mirror is leading with We Ran for Our Lives. That's a story from a continuation of the Rhodes story. And The Express also covers Rhodes' race to rescue Britons in Greek wildfires nightmare. The Daily Star They go for the alien story. We can't rule out there's a spaceship crashed on Mars. Those are your front pages. That's all we've got time for. But thanks to my guests, Josh Howie and Francis Foster. Josh and I will be back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Leo Kearse here. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, if you're watching the repeat of this show, please do stick around because breakfast is on in just a moment. But otherwise, make sure you join us for Headliners tomorrow, 11 o'clock and every night. Farewell for now.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening, I'm Alex Deakin and this is your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. Most of us will see some sunny spells tomorrow, but there'll still be a few showers around and still a little bit on the chilly side. Low pressure is edging away. The breeze is coming down from the north. These weather fronts have been providing some heavy showers, but clearing away from the south coast this evening. Another one will bring some showery rain into northern Scotland overnight. A few scattered showers elsewhere, perhaps in southwest England, southwest Wales, but most will be dry and clear. And temperatures will drop away down into single figures, certainly in many rural spots, towns and cities generally about 9 to 12 Celsius. So for Tuesday, as I said, a mix of sun and showers, generally a brighter day across East Anglia and the southeast. Not too many showers here in the morning. Mostly across western Scotland initially, but we'll see a few more showers through the day over parts of southern Scotland and especially northeast England where we could see some heavy ones. Parts of Wales and southwest England should see lengthy, dry, bright periods and temperatures in the southwest maybe up to 21, perhaps 22 in London. Elsewhere, again, we're mostly in the high teens, but the breezes will be lighter. Quite a chilly start to Wednesday, for many a fine bright start. Some showers again over northern England, but out west the cloud is gathering and we will see outbreaks of rain pushing in here as we go through the afternoon. Sunny spells and a few scattered showers elsewhere, and again temperatures mostly high teens, low 20s at best.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Monday to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, no, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment.
I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good evening. The BBC makes a very rare public apology, and it makes it to me. I'll tell you in a moment how pleased I am. And as we start to discuss green taxes and the impact they're having on low-income families, the SNP decides to go in completely the opposite direction and to ban gas boilers completely. What will that do to those on low incomes who want to sell a house? And Michael Gove is planning for more housing in